Hello. Pro tip, start your videos using your nose so you can keep your gloves on. Um, Good morning. I was meant to be going into London today for the Right to Rome gathering, but the trains are cancelled because it's snowing. Little aside, I hope I never get so old that I stop loving snow. Sorry, this is a very serious matter, so I'll now be serious. Right to Rome. Why was I going to go to the event today in London? In England, we have access to 8% of our wild land, and that's better than some countries, but it's worse than a lot of countries. And I don't think it's nearly enough. Now, first of all, let me cover the arguments against having a right to roam. A right to roam, sorry, I should say, is that you have permission with some restraints and constraints and sensible ones to just roam wherever you want. Now, of course, you can't walk straight through a farmer's crop field. Of course, you can't walk through someone's garden. But by and large, open, empty countryside, you should be able to roam. That's the premise of it. Because that is, of course, what humans did for thousands and thousands of years until the enclosures of a couple of 100 years ago, when some people suddenly said, this wood is mine. I'm going to fence it off and you're not allowed in there. It's mine. So we always had a right to roam. And if you feel that it's a weird thing to have, then I think that's because we've all been conditioned through our whole life to just accept that that wood is not for general public. So what are the arguments against a right to roam, first of all? Litter. When people go wandering around the countryside, they throw litter. Lucasade bottles, dog poo bags, disposable barbecues, and then when wild camping's involved, when people camping out, you get the problems with people leaving rubbish and leaving fire circles. Another problem, argument against the right to roam is that farmers need to use the countryside to work, to grow our food and to rear livestock for our food. And personally, I'll explain in a minute, I don't think that is in any way incompatible with a right to roam. And of course, it's very, very important that farmers should be able to do that. And then the third main argument I hear against the right to roam is that in England, we already have tens of thousands of miles of footpath, far more than many, many countries, and that perhaps, surely, that is enough. We shouldn't have more than that. So they're the three arguments, I think, against a right to roam. So, what do I have to say about that? Well, first of all, I think it's just ridiculous overall that anyone can say, this river is mine, this mountain is mine, this forest is mine. Thousands of years ago, this was just, the world was open land. And I think if you've been to places like big empty deserts like the Sahara, or some huge open landscapes of Alaska, or just big open empty places, you have a sense that, oh, of course, this is just a wild and natural planet. It's only very recently that it's been compartmentalized and grabbed for human use. So first of all, I think it's ridiculous that anyone can own a mountain or a river or a lake. And given that that's the way it is, people do own those things, I don't think that is incompatible with having a respectful right to roam around those areas as well, as I'll try to explain. I forgot what I was going to say. It was really clever. So, in terms of access, we have 8% of England is allowed. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. If you compare this to other places, for example, Scotland is part of the United Kingdom, Great Britain, but in Scotland, so a few hundred miles to the north of me, there is a right to roam, and people have much greater access to roam and enjoy the countryside. And guess what? It hasn't completely and utterly trashed the place. Also, countries, Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, etc., have their what's called allemansretten. Sorry for the pronunciation. Allemansretten, every man's right, which gives every man and woman and child and person the right to roam around the countryside, to climb hills, to swim in rivers, to forage for mushrooms and blackberries, to fish, to just be out in nature, natural world. But, and this is the crucial thing, with those rights come responsibilities. So ask anyone in Scandinavia about allemansrätten and they will tell you how wonderful it is, but they'll also, of course, say you can't just go camp 50 metres from someone's house and have a rave. You can't go camp in a cornfield. You can't go walking through someone's cornfield. You can't leave dog poo bags hanging from hedges. You can't have stupid wildfires that risk burning places down. You can't be an idiot. You have responsibilities to look after this beautiful natural world. Of course you do. Now, I think the trouble we have in England is that we've got it the wrong way round. By keeping everybody out of the countryside for fear that it will get wrecked if hoodlums like me are allowed on it, and sadly there are many cases when people do roam around the land. So they do leave litter and trash things and worry livestock. And I think we've got this the wrong way round. Because we don't have the access, we don't have the sense of belonging and connection to our natural land, we therefore don't have all built within us or taught at schools and by families and friends, we haven't got taught the responsibilities that come with caring for the land. So the people who are campaigning for the right to roam, they love natural landscapes. None of them are going to trash the place. They are out to campaign to educate people to take care of the natural landscape, to teach people the responsibilities that come for outdoor use. So I think it's really, really important that if we allow people to roam and give people access to the land, that with that comes the education and that we've got to look after it. And you know what? I think that comes because when you spend time out in the natural world, the first time you go, you might think, oh, we're out in the countryside, let's chuck some Lucozade bottles around. But gradually, the more time you spend out in nature, you're going to learn about nature and you're going to care about it and you're not going to want to trash it anymore. And you'll go beyond leave no trace. Leave no trace is a key part of being out in nature. You don't leave any trace of where you've been. Take only photographs, leave only footprints. But the right to roam, the leave no trace community are going beyond that now to try and leave a positive impact on the landscape. So when you're out, don't just drop a Lucozade bottle, pick the other ones up as well. Make the countryside better. And this is the ethos of people who are caring about right to roam. No one who's campaigning for right to roam wants to go marching through your garden or your wheat field. Nobody who's campaigning for right to roam will be trashing the landscape. I can promise that. Well, I can sincerely hope that. I'm pretty as near as a promise I can get to that. The final thing I want to say, because my arm's getting quite tired holding my phone like this, is that in England we have, well, first of all, we have got one of the most nature-depleted landscapes in the world, and we've also got one of the worst levels of nature connectedness. Oh, change his phone to other hand because he's getting tired. Oh. Right, nature connectedness is a sense of how connected we feel to the natural world. Now, you might possibly dismiss that as woo-woo hippie nonsense, but there is so much evidence, scientific-based evidence, that spending time outdoors is good for our physical health and it's good for our mental health. A lot of people would agree with that. The trouble is, in England, we've got very low nature connectedness, which means people feel very little connection to nature. And so one of the really important things about giving people a right to roam and more access is that more people are able to get out into nature. So that it's not just people who own massive forests who can go for a wander in the forest, and it's not just a few lucky people who live in beautiful wild landscapes. Nature should be for everybody, and we can find it wherever we happen to live, near cities, near towns, if we give people the right to roam responsibly. That's what I think. I think that it's ridiculous that only 8% of England is available for people to freely enjoy. I also think that the more people who spend more time in nature, the more we will come to care about it, to cherish it, to protect it, and then to be so motivated that they're willing to get a sore arm by holding their camera. So my final thing is, if you're at all interested in this, please Google Allemansretten, if you can spell that, and learn about the responsibilities that people have in Scandinavia when they're roaming around the countryside. Have a look at the Scottish countryside code. It's very different to the one in England, and it's working really well, and see how that might be applied relevantly here in England. And then finally, look online for Right to Roam. The Right to Roam campaign has expressed all of these things far more articulately and artistically than I can. So please look online for the Right to Roam, follow them online, and get involved if you can. Because nature's beautiful, and we should all have the right and the responsibility to get out here, care for it, and love it, and look after it. And now I'm going sledging. The end.